I have used this before. Just not
Just last night?
No. When I went to Edge of the World, I used
Oh, okay.
it.
Yeah, I think it's playing and recording. That seems legit. Oh, you got all kinds of cameras going around.
Oh, yeah. For sure.
Nerd. I'm gonna go turn the AC on. I'm dying.
I'm probably recording in 3 different size formats, and Mom's gonna be like, what the fuck?
Yeah, that sounds like a
Could you
raw
make them all
problem.
1080p instead of like this one's 270?
Well, then he
this
just
Or high
he,
tech
he
here.
just needs to throw like a cool filter on
Yeah.
the lower quality one, and it'll look like it was artsy.
one's so artsy.
Little artsy cutaway.
Arizona is a wildly beautiful place, brimming with over 100 brewing companies. I'm Rob Fulmer, the Executive Director of the Arizona Craft Brewers Guild. I'm joined by Deputy Director Andrew Bauman. Together we cover the state, bringing you the best of what's happening at our breweries and beyond. Welcome to Arizona Beer Frontier.
Okay, so we're
cheers.
here at Simple Machine Brewing.
Yay!
Cheers, Zing. What are you drinking?
I'm drinking Day Crusher.
What am I drinking?
You're drinking poolside lager.
Oh, good for me.
Yeah.
And you?
The IPL. I mistakenly poured. I thought I was pouring our pale ale, but I mistakenly poured our Imperial West Coast. So
Oh,
it's
Hey.
also very good.
Great.
But it's 10 a.m.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
boy, oh boy. All
I
these
wasn't going to pour it out.
Happy
all
hour
these morning
somewhere.
bears. What are you going to do?
It's happy
Yeah.
hour somewhere.
QAQC
What is it, like 1 o'clock on the East Coast?
at least.
We're
3 hour
fine.
difference,
We're
yeah.
fine.
Yeah.
So, hey, you guys just opened a brand new location in downtown Glendale.
Halfway. I'll explain that later. But yes.
They halfway opened
Well,
a new location.
yeah. Well, it was
The
two,
door was open
It's
when
two
I was there.
suites, and only the first suite is open so far. So we're kind of going in stages.
So, I've always been told that a second location of any hospitality business is the hardest.
I believe that. I believe that for sure.
So, what made you decide to go to Glendale? What brought you to that location? Tell me a little about that expansion thing.
Well, during COVID, we were forced into outside sales. We switched to packaged. It got our brand out. We were 3 months old when we got shut down the first time, 4 months old. And suddenly we were distributing beer all over the valley or wherever we could sell it just so we could move product. We did really well with that. We grew a lot. I think it did well for the brand, but now post-COVID era, and it's been on our mind that we were never desiring to be a huge distribution brewery. And tap rooms started picking up, so outside sales started falling off, as they should. Well, at least packaged. It started being more draft. And I've always desired having multiple tap room locations because you're essentially opening your best customer. Like that outlet is going to be the one account that sells more of your beer than any other outside sales market. Maybe Total Wine is still beating it. We're in all 12 Total Wines.
You're in Total Lines with package.
Yeah, with package.
Wow.
So that.
And you self-distribute all of that.
Well, we're on Manuel.
Okay.
Manuel,
Whew.
Manuel does that, but we do some accounts.
Yeah, that Manuel was a good savior for us.
Oh, hey, Jeremy's here.
Hey-o.
Let's interrupt you for a second.
Hi-o.
What's up, buddies? No, you're good.
So rude.
Going.
No, Marshall, good to meet you. Jeremy.
Cool.
Liam.
Liam?
Yeah.
Good to meet you, Liam.
Frank, good to meet you.
So we're just talking about their expansion. You guys want to hang out for a little bit?
Yeah, sure.
All right.
Did you want a beer?
Do you want to
I'm not
do
gonna say no.
Will you pour in beers real quick?
Keep talking.
So yeah, we wanted to create our own points of distribution. That was the main concern. And this second location it came up earlier than we wanted. We just had it in our mind that we wanted to do it. And then my friend Eric Walters from Tap That, he met the guys that bought the Gaslight building, and they're also the guys that own the building that BRI Arcade is in, which is how he got in contact with them. he went and saw this space on a whim because he wanted to see the building. He immediately contacted me, and he's like, dude, you have to see this bar. It was a beer and wine bar when the building got condemned several years ago. You have to see this building. I know you like historic buildings. This one's already set up like a bar.
And that bar is so cool.
It's very cool.
Like, it's so neat.
So we went and looked at it. I love old red brick buildings. So it checked all my boxes as far as appeal goes. It already had a bar. It already had a walk-in. The building needed a lot of work, but the suite just needed to be refaced.
So when it said condemned, that was the business, the building?
The whole building was condemned. Yeah.
How much rehab do you have to do on something like that?
It was crazy. So it used to be the Gaslight Inn. It was a boutique hotel with 11 rooms and a couple other suites, the 2 that we ended up taking. A car hit the front of the building, came off the street and hit the building. So when they came to inspect the damage, they realized that the whole facade of the building was sinking. It was like 8 inches down from where it was originally, and they condemned the building. It wasn't from the car crash. It was just from a 1920s brick building settling into the ground.
That didn't help much.
Yeah. So the new owners, instead of tearing it down, because they have the same draw to old buildings that I do, they bought it and they put 32 or 34 pylons and lifted the whole facade and then underfilled it and then had engineers come in and reattach all the structures. And it's supposedly stronger now than it was when it was originally built, which wouldn't surprise me because it's such an old building. But they did that. And
Cool.
They're still, in the second suite, when we finally get that open, there's 2 huge cracks in the front of the wall that when we toured the building were several inches wide, but now they're pressed back together. And they said that we can leave them because they're not structurally inhibiting at all. So
Right.
they're really cool and they tell a story.
Yeah.
But yeah, when he showed me the building, they told us we had about a month or 2 before it was ready. And that gave me time to do some research on the area and make sure that the demographic was right, that beer was selling there. There's no other like businesses nearby. So
Like no craft beer bars.
no craft
I
beer
know
bars,
there's
no breweries.
The German food.
Right next
A
door.
lot of
That
good
was good.
restaurants around there.
Yeah, a lot of good restaurants. Downtown Glendale, they're trying to bring it back up. The city really wanted a brewery to come in, so they helped us a lot. They moved us along as quick as they possibly could. The state didn't care one way or the other, though, so that's where we had our delays. But when we first took over the lease, we wanted to be open before Super Bowl, and the city thought it was possible, but the state didn't even care.
They laughed and laughed. They're like, we're busy with Super Bowl, bro.
Yeah, they didn't even care. So we didn't get open until last month, but at least we're open. At least the first suite is open. So the city gave us a Newark C of O for the bar because when it was condemned, it was to code. So nothing had to be changed on it. We didn't alter any of the existing electrical or plumbing. So they didn't need to be re-inspected for structural or
So you have
engineering.
1920s plumbing. That's awesome.
Well, the suite that we're in currently was redone when it became the beer and wine bar, thankfully.
Oh,
but
whew.
the suite next door, that's going to be the music venue, is old.
Yeah.
The whole building, like we have to run in new plumbing from the sewer.
Right. It's
We need a
it's
bigger
been-
water line.
It's been used for many, many different things since
Yeah.
the 20s. It started off with a florist in there, so.
And then in the 60s, they added this barn type structure to the
Yeah.
back, which most of that needs to be rebuilt.
Right.
Come to find out. So we're going to try to open that one in stages too, just so we can get some extra indoor area. And
Yeah.
then we're going to build out a patio on the east side in the alleyway between us and House Murphy. So we'll have a big east patio, a huge rear patio, and then eventually we'll have 2,900 extra
Yeah,
square feet
yeah.
open in the back.
So you had music in the back when I was there
Yeah.
for grand opening weekend.
On that little outdoor stage.
And is that part of your premise or is that extension?
Yeah, that's part.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Wow.
That whole patio
It's
is under
huge.
our liquor license. So
Awesome.
the only caveat is that the tenants have to walk through there. So
Mm-hmm.
we do take a little bit of liability with that. But
Right.
otherwise, it's great to have.
Yeah. Nice.
Did you mention the owners of the building, what they do also?
Yeah. Well, I told them.
About Mesa and
Yeah.
Chandler?
They own a bunch of buildings in downtown Mesa.
And
but-
Pedal House they have in their, and also they have, they rent the building to the arcade for.
Yep, BRI.
BRI's, they own that building. They
So,
own a
yeah,
lot.
but part of my research was reaching out to Matt and making sure that they weren't dirtbags.
Right.
But he only had positive things to say about them.
they're
That's
just
cool.
good luck about doing stuff in
Yeah.
downtown. So we jumped on.
And
the
they're,
back.
I mean,
That's
they're
what
great.
They do.
I talked with Crooked Tooth, and they have a similar landlord who's just like, I want to keep this building as it is. I don't want to bust it down and
Yeah.
put up new apartments. I want to keep an old building. And
Yeah.
it seems like there's a lot of passion for that amongst some people that have
Wow.
buildings. It's
Well,
nice.
I mean, yeah, it is nice. Tucson seems to be better at it than Phoenix, but we're getting there.
Yeah.
Well,
So-
we're not tearing down as much.
Yeah.
But my love came from Borderlands. When I used to work and brew for Borderlands, they were in a 1920s produce warehouse.
Yeah.
And that building plus Crooked Tooth, I was there when they were building out. So,
And that's
So
a
that-
good
I mean, it's
area.
just those buildings were amazing.
Like
Yeah.
Crooked Tooth. What is it? An artsy fartsy kind of place around that area?
Crooked Tooth?
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
around
it's
that area.
it's
No,
downtown
around the area.
Tucson.
It's-
I know,
it's
but
not
still, that
it's not
area,
Flagstaff
the
crunchy, but
coffee
it's
shops. Everything's coming
Yeah.
back down there. A little,
yeah.
yeah.
And then they decided to put that
The bridge,
that
new-
road right through
Yeah.
there, and they tore off
Yeah.
that bakery. That makes me real sad. There was a really good bakery right across the street from Borderlands.
that road's pretty great, though.
Yeah.
I don't go there. I don't go there enough. I actually loathe Tucson as a city. So
I'm
Cut
going
that.
down there on Friday just
yeah.
to.
Outside of the people I know down there and the beer and food I like.
Yeah.
I mean, my favorite restaurant in the state is in Tucson, so I can't complain too much.
So we learned about how the build out went. How about the actual operations? And now you have 2 locations. How's that changed the way that you look at your business?
Well, again, it happened sooner than we wanted, so I don't know that we were necessarily ready for it, but we started making plans for it. And we knew that we would have to hire at least one full-time person to GM Glendale. And thankfully, we found a couple. Well, we have 3 employees down there right now, and they've been great. But at the same time, Frank and I were down there 3 or 4 days a week.
Correct.
And I'm gonna tomorrow I'm opening the bar. Friday I'm gonna close the bar. Monday I'm gonna close the bar. So there's a lot of days where I get here at between 6 and 7:30, depending on the kids' school schedules and stuff. And I'll leave here and go directly to Glendale. But I'm pretty accustomed to 12-hour
we're
days.
piecing it
anyway.
together, and as like you said, we did a soft opening for 3 weeks to get our employees on. They never bartended before. A lot of them.
It's true.
did.
We hired
They're
3
good-
people who had
yeah.
never bartended before.
Yeah. They knew about beer.
I've
They know
always
that.
believed that the right person can be trained to do a job, and we found the right people.
Yeah. Well,
Cool. Cool.
And
But it's also like here I've got a business partner who handles a lot of aspects that now I'm in charge of. So instead of just having the responsibilities of like my share of duties here, I'm also carrying those duties over there. So that's been a tough adjustment. A lot of lost sleep.
Yeah.
Over trying to figure out the best ways to manage things. Thankfully, like my partner here, he's not involved in Glendale. I'm involved with Frank and our friends Jeff and Emily. They own Double Helix Records. So it's a separate company and it's separate ownership. I'm the only owner. But Trevor is great about sharing any information about how he's running things. And I mean, we have the same corporate attorney, the same CPA, so there's that carryover, which helped a lot. But just managing time, it's way easier said than done, and it's much easier to put on paper than to actually do. Especially because people expect to see me here, so a lot of people pop in, and I make all my appointments for here generally, unless I know it's Glendale related. Frank he's retired, but he works full time.
It's the weirdest retirement because every time I'm here, you're here.
Full time plus. We joke about it, but I lean on Frank a lot because he's available and he's willing and he's involved. So he's helped with a lot of that burden too. Like I actually haven't been to Glendale since last week now because Frank, we were out of town for the awesome Real Wild and Woodsy Festival. Yeah. But Frank, he goes down there
go back
every
there
day
and check.
almost. And
But our manager right now is holding on. When he needs something, we're there, and I'll be there once a week doing
Yeah.
the books kind of thing. And
yeah, thankfully he's pretty
learning
independent.
the neighborhood pretty good. That's our biggest thing is we're learning downtown, and we've got good friends with it's like when you get in the downtown little area, you know everyone's business, and we made a point to know everybody. So because we don't have food, so we're trying to get all the food places to give us a QR code. They can order there. Some people want to do it, some don't want to, and they can pick up and deliver. But it's going forward on that.
Well, I think the other big hurdle is that we have a Series 7, so we're doing wine, cider, and mead. And I'll drink wine, but I know absolutely nothing about like the styles and the regions and the years and the types of grapes and the notes you're supposed to find and what all of the intricacies of it.
That was 6 months of work putting
I had no idea.
that whole thing together.
So-
all of us, 6 months of just putting the wine program together.
Yeah. Well, we got together with a good friend of mine, Clayton Steffen. He owns Divided Vine. He used to be one of the Whining Pig owners. And he does the wine there, and he's got this really crazy, like 60 wine list. He's fantastic. So thankfully he came in and we put together a pretty well curated wine list, and he's hosted trainings for the whole staff.
Such a nice guy.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Ridiculous.
You got canned wines now. You have canned.
Yeah, so he helps us with that. All the wine-based cocktails, so we're doing like sake Bloody Marys.
Yeah, sake Bloody Marys,
which are amazing. I would have thought of it, but
micheladas and mimosas, and we have a lot of Arizona red wines. That's what we're trying to
we've
do.
tried to feature local. Red apparently is really what does well in Arizona, so there's not a lot of local white, if any, available. I'm learning. We're learning.
Yeah.
And then we get to sell wine and mead to go as well, which is pretty cool.
Right.
The wine program.
but-
We are just enthused about that.
Well, yeah, and to be honest, I mean it's a decent segment of the business right now. There's a lot of wine drinkers in downtown Glendale. But I'm still leaning on Clayton. He's still putting our wine orders in because I just haven't had the capacity to. And JJ, he's getting better, our full-time guy, but still not ever having worked in a bar. He's being trained on how to order wine and set up tastings, and it's
I don't know.
No, you're the professional.
I know. That's funny.
Yeah, the fun, part of the 7 license is, we have a 3 here, and we can only have Arizona beers or Arizona wine. We don't have wine here, but now we can get anything we want. You know, any kind of beer. Now we're working with all the distributors, and all these distributors that do wine it's just overwhelming. And Clayton's been a big help on that.
There's like 18 wine distributors.
Yeah, it's it's just
too
crazy.
much.
Yeah, and wine is huge. It's just a huge like craft beer. That's what craft beer tried to follow. What do you like? What's your flavor? What kind of beer you want? Oh,
Yeah. I think it's okay.
Oh, okay.
so that's the way we've done over there. It's just our beers, but we have non-alcohol beer. We have gluten-free beer now that's not ours, but if there's a beer we want that's specially that we don't have to put ours, we can grab, something from the East Coast now.
Well, we are going to do a collab with Electric,
Oh, cool.
and we can only bring it into Glendale
Right.
when that happens. So
Yeah. Wait. Electric Brewing?
from California.
I thought Electric Brewing was in Bisbee.
No, that was Electric Dave. Electric Dave's.
They're still going.
Oh,
Cool.
Huh.
cool.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, no, not the Bisbee one.
Well, you can do a collab with them too.
I could, yeah. I've met them several times.
And then you could have it here.
Yeah, I could. But yeah, I think the biggest struggle, if I had to pick something, is that opening here, we made a list of things that we were going to make sure we had when we were ready to do another location. And part of that was hiring someone else to do the demo because that was awful in the middle of summer. But how we would approach the city and how we'd promote opening, and there's just a laundry list of things that we had issues with that we thought we would change, and all of those things really paled in comparison to not having somebody that could do my job here full time.
Right.
That was the struggle. So I know a couple guys like John Lane. Every awesome location that he opens up, he can focus on running his business because every position has already a fantastic person in it. So in his new location, he fills all those spots. He doesn't have to be on site to make sure that the first one's running properly every day. And we're kind of using Glendale as the one that we don't have to be there all the time as, because this one's a little bit more intricate. But, Coley's fantastic, but producing 1,200 barrels of beer on a 10-barrel system is more than one person can do. And it's just her and I back there, except for when Frank comes in and
Cans delivered.
does all
Packaging and-
packaging and delivering and cleaning and
Can you CIP this for me? I gotta run. Yeah.
No, I don't touch that.
he doesn't do
Oh,
any of that.
okay.
He doesn't do any like cellar work necessarily.
No, I don't. But
He's
I
labor.
know how to do little things. but-
Unskilled labor.
Yeah.
He can fill kegs.
Cool.
But that was hard. It was being pulled away. I know it's better now that JJ's comfortable and we're kind of falling into a groove post grand opening, but it was definitely putting a lot of stress on the staff here, not having me as much as they expected. I mean, I usually work about 50 hours a week. So that was probably down to 40 or 35 here because I was working 30 over in Glendale for
We had a good
few
contractor,
months.
which
Yeah, our
was,
contractor's a good guy
Cool.
and a
he was
good friend.
Yeah. So
That was
We should get that info because there's questions about that all the time.
well. I don't think he can take any more jobs right now. Actually, when
That's also what they say too.
with the good ones anyway.
Yeah,
When the
exactly.
guys who own the building met him, they got rid of their contractor and hired him to finish the rest of the build out in all the lofts.
Cool.
And the rest of the building. So he was, and now he just has to finish my other suite.
he
And-
did Katsuni.
Yep, he did Katsune too, and the remodel at Phoenix Beer.
Yeah.
I actually met him when I worked there because he's friends with Adam. So
Cool.
yeah.
Well, that is a lot of stuff. Have you noticed a difference in your product mix between here and there on which beers are more popular, or is it not enough
Not-
time to know?
Yeah, I mean, I pay pretty close attention to that because we have 19 handles here and we've only got 15 there. So there's always going to be beer here that we don't have down there. So we're trying to, we're always watching when a keg kicks to see how quick it was and what other styles were doing well. And so far it's
unusual.
IPAs and light beers
Yeah.
are just dominate the top 5. And then unless you do like a special release or something.
Our Day Crusher, and we'll throw different IPAs
Day Crusher,
in there.
Blueprint.
But people want,
Yeah, West Coast Hazy.
They want the camper, the amber. Some people do that.
And then if there's a large event, sour always
Yeah,
comes up on
Sour.
the list too.
Sour.
Yeah.
Sour.
Alchemist
yeah.
line,
But
our
I mean,
Alchemist line
here
crushes it.
we offer this sours, fruited sours, and fruited lagers and things to wine drinkers because we don't have wine. But there, they can just drink wine. So, or mead. Mead is actually doing pretty well.
Still
for us, too.
trying to get people to drink beer, though, right? Yes.
Yes.
Oh, beer. Beer's 80 to 90% of our total sales right now.
Wow, that's a big investment for wine for 10% of sales.
I don't think people expect a brewery to have it.
So over
And-
time, you think that's going to change?
It has. It has
Okay.
changed, yeah. Since grand opening, even just a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, the category went from 15 to 20 or 25% for the week. So more and more.
Cool.
I think our biggest opportunity is making sure people know that they can buy beer and wine to go, and we give case discounts on wine. So
We do our mug club there also.
yeah,
Yeah,
we
we're
opened
doing
up
that.
120 new
They can use
spots
them at
for
both
Mug Club.
places.
So.
Wow, that's great.
And there, the Mug Club gets discounted wine drinks too.
Yes.
So
So
it's off everything, not just beer.
Fun ever.
I would love to have wine here eventually. Here, I just think, if you're a beer drinker and they want something different, and a couple comes in, I think it's a big thing. I don't drink beer. They will come here because they know their husband or their wife likes the beer, and they'll have a water or a soda or something. But we can get both of them in there and just drinking that.
It is something that we've thought about a lot. The guild has of trying to get the number 3 to not only allow Arizona beer but also Arizona wine and spirits. We have a pretty big hurdle to overcome. That would have to go into its own bill. We couldn't put that through with the general alcohol beer bill because taverns would. The Alba would just be like, oh, hell no. Hell
Well,
no.
I mean, immediately upon you saying that, I think it would be really cool. But for liability purposes, our insurance in Glendale is astronomical.
Crazy compared
Compared to
to
Series
just
3,
beer.
yeah.
Huh, interesting. Cool.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we have a 7, and that's no food. It's just all
Yeah.
just beer and wine to go, and you can have. anywhere. And then like the Series 6, I can imagine what the insurance is on that. That's full liquor with no food, everything.
Crazy.
So
Yeah, the liability though is just so much higher,
Right.
and it got significantly higher just in the last 6 to 8 months
I had a couple little chats with
Trevor.
Trevor about insurance.
Well,
yeah.
obviously he wrote me in Glendale, so
Yeah.
I know what we pay here, and he knows what I'm paying there, and it's insane.
Yeah.
then you throw the venue on there when we start doing music. That's going to put a
The
little
liability on the venue. Well, we're already that whole thing is for the venue already,
Yeah,
but
all
it's
the
just
venue,
crazy.
But that kicks up another, you know.
Yeah, when you've
Right.
got a 200-person standing room venue, there's some liability there too. Mm-hmm. And I'm always big on making sure we're covered in case, but we're going to be doing good things down there. I'm really excited to get the venue going. Now that it's actually open and I can get into a more regular schedule. I think I'm just going to be working Mondays and Fridays at Glendale now in the evenings.
And
So,
I go back there. I go back and forth here. So
Yeah.
What's great is we run out of beer. You just run here and open the door anytime.
yeah,
to get beer.
Yeah.
beer's a half
Yeah.
hour away
Yeah,
if we needed it.
So,
But generally, we're not so busy down there that that's been an issue. Except for grand opening, we came and got some beer, but otherwise, if it's out for the night, and we'll bring it the next morning. You know?
I mean, you were there and you see it's a little tavern. And it's pretty cool. You know,
Yeah.
maybe 40, 50 people. I mean, that's.
It was
what-
pretty packed when I was there.
Yeah. So it's small.
You know, the max capacity is 56, so that room feels busy with 20 people in it. I
Yeah.
can't imagine actually
great,
squeezing
though.
56
the vibe
people in
is
there.
really, really good.
I mean, when
Yeah.
it feels busy, it always brings more people, so
Yeah.
that's cool.
Yeah,
and then that
summer's
back
there.
area, wow.
Yeah.
You know what's really cool when we roll open that front door, the roll door,
Mm-hmm.
crank up the music there and the bar and everything.
People can hear it outside.
just gravitate to that, you know. But now it's summer and it's kind of tough. But
It is summer.
Yeah, I mean, I really wish we could have opened in the spring. Opening in the summer is just brutal. It's a difficult time. So when the venue's ready, hopefully fall or spring of next year, we're going to do another grand opening and have a bigger blowout with nicer weather, and then never celebrate our summer grand opening again.
Here's the thing about
a-
anniversaries. They are whenever you pick.
Yep.
Yeah.
So let's see, we opened in June. That feels like early May, maybe late April. Grand opening.
January,
Yeah.
February.
Yeah.
But
Cool.
yeah, that was a task to take, and it worked out well. You know, we had to rent tents and stuff like that. People were comfortable and we had the swamp coolers and.
Yeah, and the whole patio gets covered by shade in the afternoon.
Yeah,
evening, so.
it's a big patio. That's one thing. It is massive. So if there's stuff happening, we can put it out there, private parties and stuff like that. So
So now we have the original brewery, we have distribution, we have a second tap room.
Mm-hmm.
You ready to start moving into your next tap room again? Because I know you want to get down in the Southeast Valley.
I've already talked about it. And now it's. I mean, second location was premature too. So I don't know. I did actually look at a building already, but that was just a fever dream. I think we'll, because the same landlords
think
own buildings everywhere. So I was like,
Yeah.
let me see this one. It's not vacant yet, but I'm like, let me look at
the
it.
venue, we'd like to get that open.
yeah,
There's
that
a couple
should
locations.
remain the
Do we
focus,
want
but
to? Definitely.
I
Do
want
people want us to do it? Yes.
Absolutely,
Yes.
yeah. So yeah, I mean, I don't want to say it's gonna happen, but I made the laundry list of things I would do differently the next time. So I can't
It's
wait
gonna
for
be
I
even
can't wait
easier.
for all that to be irrelevant.
They say the second one's the hardest and the third gets easier.
Yeah. Well, I think
Maybe.
my biggest issue. I didn't get into craft beer for money, which is good because
There isn't any.
there's not a lot of money to be made in craft beer, and I didn't get into it so that I could, blow up and be like this regional Mongol brewery kind of thing and take over. I love brewing and I love tap rooms and the environment that they create, and I would have difficulty stepping away from my daily duties here. I love brewing. 95% of it is cleaning, but
You could do
That's-
that. Just let someone else do the other stuff.
Right.
There you
well,
go.
I mean,
It's easy.
Coley actually runs the brew house most of the time.
Yes.
Like 9 out of every 10 batches, Coley's the one actually making beer. I end up doing cellar work and prepping orders and helping her clean and inventorying and brewery production reports and all of that nonsense. But I like being in the brewery. I don't ever want a desk to be my space. You know,
Right.
I want to be able to walk through the tanks and drink a beer. And
You know, I like to make a lot of money too.
I mean, that would be nice, but I'm not. You know, when we get
Retired guy, I'd like to.
when we get to the yeah, you're playing the long game. When we get to the third space, I imagine we're gonna run into the same issue where I'm gonna have to be there because I'm not ready to hire another full-time person to take over what I do here. So I'm just not. I just don't want to do that.
But you want a 3-barrel system over there, you said to me.
I'll hire a part-time brewer.
See, he wants another brew house.
But I just,
Another
I
toys
don't.
to play with.
No, we need food at the third one, but that's a whole nother. Ugh.
Yeah, that's not us.
But no, I think that'll continue being a struggle for third and fourth locations. I don't want to give up here. I don't want to be just an overseer yet.
Mm-hmm.
I'm an old man, but I'm not too old to do this job yet. So when I get closer to Frankie's age, I'll hang up my boots and hire somebody full time, and hopefully we can just.
You can still brew. Put on your boots, and you just have a newer system. You have a computer
No, I'll
system.
hire someone full time, and then I'll just hang out and watch them all
Hit
day.
the button.
I'll just put my boots on for fun, for nostalgia purposes, and then when my back starts hurting from standing too long, I'll
One of these days we'll have that computer saying,
just
stir,
with an iPad. Yeah.
Not even that.
Just push the button, all of a sudden the beer's
Well,
made.
no,
Yeah,
we
that's
walk
a
into
theory.
some brews going, you know.
I mean, we just upgraded our brew house. We were on a 3-barrel for our first 3 years, and in January we installed a 10-barrel. Finally, when we opened, construction ran over budget. Crazy, I know. So we couldn't buy the brew house we wanted. I already had the 3-barrel, so we decided I would run on it for the first 6 months or so just to get going, and then we'd upgrade. We ran out for 3 years. 6 months turned to 3 years. We went from 440 to what did we do second year? 7 something, and then
712 or
and then 840 the last year we ran it.
That's a lot of beer on a 3-barrel system.
Yes.
Yeah, and it was direct fire. We converted the 3-barrel HLT into a second kettle, so we were doing 3 turns a day. Just brutal. Coley almost died last year. If she
There's
walked
no
out, I wouldn't have blamed her.
air conditioning back.
But then
Yeah.
we finally got on this 10-barrel, and like budget aside, I don't have a draw to automated systems. I like making beer, to call back the commercial the hard way. So it's all janky manifolds and stirring with a paddle.
Still,
No-
the efficiency went up from the 3 to
Oh, yeah.
10. So there's a
Yeah,
big,
we're like 91 to 93
yeah.
on
We were
on
in the
beers
high
now, but-
60s before.
65 to 75.
Are you still carrying grain up the stairs to pour in?
No.
No.
Our big improvement in January, it was like almost New Year's Day probably, we put in an auger. So we mill as we're mashing.
Yeah.
I have a grist case that we have to figure out how to install for this system. But
Yeah.
we're still, I mean, it was originally commissioned in 96 in Rock Bottom in Long Beach. It's an old JV Northwest system. It's built like a tank, and it's super manual.
Yeah.
And I like that.
But it was maintained very nice, and it was
Yeah.
better than
I
I've
think-
seen other places.
Oh, it's in good shape.
96 JV Northwest. That is exactly what we had at the Oncle Bears
Oh, really?
in Awatuki.
Oh, cool.
Came out of a rock bottom
How about it?
in Pennsylvania or something. But
Oh,
yeah.
nice. Yeah. I mean, I got a great deal on it, but the price wasn't necessarily the issue. I just, maybe we'll add an auger to the mash someday, but it's really important to me that brewers realize how difficult making beer can be. And I still make, like when we do recipes, I make Coley do all the math by hand. We don't use programs or anything because I want her to know the metrics and understand what each thing does. Anyway, we don't need to get philosophical. It's just, yeah, I like it. I like the manual system. It's fun for me.
All right. Well, I know that Frank's got some deliveries to do.
He does.
Yes, I do.
And
And I'm still killing a bright tank.
Yep.
Marshall's still doing something, killing a bright tank. Yeah, don't kill it.
That's I used to work in grocery retail and like other retail in my previous life. And when like a display in grocery needs to be like taken down or rehomed, they would just say kill it because you just take it down.
He's empty.
So like kill that
There you
end
go.
cap and then go kill that aisle display on
And
4.
kill that bright tank.
So I use the terminology here. So when a bright tank needs to be emptied and CIP'd, I just say kill it. Like, and I'll even write it on the duties
Yeah.
list, kill BT2.
Yeah.
And Coley knows what that means.
Yeah.
So,
Cool.
or serving tanks or kill it.
Well, hey, thanks.
Hey, thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming by.
I guess here we are.
Yeah.
Thanks for letting me office out of your space.
Yeah.
Again.
Anytime, man. Anytime. Appreciate you taking the time and talking to us. So
Yes.
sorry, I enjoy talking to you anyway, and I like telling my stories and
Yeah.
our struggles.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, well, I always try to help people who are opening new places too, or anyone who has questions, or because I reach out to people all the time for help. I'm glad to share. I'll tell people everything I know, and they'll just have to make the best of it. It's just not like I'm not holding anything back. So
Cool.
yeah, it's good.
Sweet.
Thank you.
Sorry I
All
talked so
right.
much. I know you said 15 minutes, and half hour later we're.
There's
It's
always
fine,
editing.
bro. It's fine. I mean,
Good
yeah.
luck with the editing.
Yeah.
That's Rob. Hey, thanks, Rob.
He is going to get tired of my voice.
All right. Well, hey, we've got Jeremy Janis from Prairie Malt, formerly Bort Malt, formerly Cargill.
Well, still Bort Malt. It's just
Branding.
yes.
There you go.
Yeah, there you go.
You didn't want it to be a French company. You want it to be, we're Prairie. We're Canadian. We're great. Look how nice we are. Like that?
Yeah, we got that U.S. presence, you know.
Cool. Cool. So I know you from buying malt when I was with probably Perch and then moving to Uncle Bear's. And then we brought a bunch of your stuff in and then opening the new Uncle Bear's. And then you decided that you wanted to try out something new. So tell me a little bit about what happened, because this industry is full of great stories.
Yeah. So I mean, I've been in the beer industry coming up on 20 years next year. So it's kind of about almost 7 years ago now. I picked up a camera for the first time, and so I started doing nature photography. I spent a lot of time in nature when I was younger because of like dealing with depression and anxiety, and that was the way like I kind of curbed it when I moved to Colorado. And then a couple years later, I actually broke my back, and I couldn't do like physical activity as much. So I actually started picking up drawing and painting. And so that was kind of my first forte into, art, the art side of the world. And then when I turned 30 and moved back to Colorado, actually for the job with Cargill at the time, and now it's Prairie Malt, that was when I started actually taking a camera with me, going on adventures. And so I just learned to develop my love and passion for the outdoors and art and nature. And so I just, I kind of started getting older, and I kind of had an existential crisis. And
As we do.
yeah,
happens.
yeah. So it wasn't really like a midlife crisis. It was just like, I think the hardest thing is always with your passions and your loves to be able to separate those from your day job. It becomes a little bit harder. But the ironic thing with nature photography is there are a lot of parallels between nature photography and the craft brewing industry. So I've been able to integrate both of those, but I wanted to just fully throw myself into art. So I bought a trailer, basically just gave up everything I had in Colorado, and I went to Florida for 6 months to sell art down there. And it was a really cool experience. Like it basically took like everything I ever learned in my entire life, like perseverance and determination and budgeting. Yeah. Going from having a paycheck and benefits to nothing is like, I mean, it's like, I didn't come from money, so like it was basically like everything I had built up over my entire life I went and risked, and like, I lost so much more than I ever imagined, but I also became like the best version of myself in that process too. So and learning to sell for yourself too. Like I actually hate selling my own artwork. It's still like very like it's not what I live for. I actually live for the inspiration piece of it and actually inspiring people to get outdoors and like see the beauty of the world and stuff. So like learning how to sell on my own down there and like kind of just like embrace fully the position I was in was like one of the most gratifying things in the world. And then ultimately like coming back to, you know, like after that whole process and coming back to Colorado and like having to rebuild everything from the bottom up again, really like it just gives you like a appreciation and like perspective for like the beauty in your own life, right? And like how you touch people. And like I was able to touch more lives than I ever imagined through that whole process. And I developed, you know, I produced 2 books and then did 4 ebooks, and like I sold like these pieces that were very deeply intricate to me too. So it was like, it's very cool just going down there. I met some of the best friends in the world down there. And I also pushed myself to like limits I never knew. I was walking around swamps like where there were gators, and I was kayaking with gators and shooting monkeys on a kayak, like just the most insane like 6 months of my life down there. And then coming back to Colorado and really learning how to kind of integrate myself back into Colorado and figure out what I wanted to do ultimately. And then, you know, it was kind of weird, you know, like being able to come back to Prairie Malt, where it was like, you know, the person that took my position, he made it about a year, and then it just opened up, and talked to Liam, and I ended up, you know, just loving everything he had to say, and came back. And it's been like, you know, the craziest journey back to what I had before, but better. So
Right. I know you did an installation at the Denver airport.
yeah.
How'd that happen?
So I actually reached out to them, and actually I was traveling a ton for this job, and I was walking through the A wing one day and like saw all these pictures on the wall, and I was like, someone else has done this, so how can I be on that wall? So like I found this obscure thing on the website for DIA. I reached out to them, and they said, hey, you can make a proposal. So I wrote my first proposal toward the end of 2018, and then they basically liked what I had to say, so I had to do another proposal. And at the time, it was funny because when I actually moved from San Diego, so I sold cider down in San Diego for Woodchuck prior to coming over to this role. And when I was down in San Diego, the thing that made me want to move back to Colorado was the seasons. So I made that entire gallery around Colorado through the seasons. So it was like I was just going to alternate each and every season throughout the 35-piece gallery. And so when I finally got the second proposal, they were like, okay, we really liked your first proposal, but we need to see more seasonal photos. And at the time, like I didn't even have like a good seasonal portfolio yet. So I was like, oh my God, I'm going to send all that I have left. Like, so like I sent them like, I think it was like 16 pictures of just all the seasons. And I was like, I pray to God they don't ask for any more, because I don't have anything else. And so after that, it was like,
They're like, what, a gator? What? Hold on.
no, and you know, it's funny because before I started that, I actually didn't even own a pair of snowshoes yet. So the funny thing about that gallery was it actually, when I did get approved for the gallery, I was like, oh my God, I'm gonna have to just blast through these photos and actually start shooting in the winter and all that. So it actually made me grow and develop as a person too. And so after they approved it, I just started shooting seasonally a lot. And I actually hate fall. Fall is my least favorite because there's so many photographers out there just shooting leaves. And so I really became known. I actually started shooting storms, and then I was also doing a lot of winter photography, kind of like in those different seasons. So now back home, I'm known for winter photography, and then like summer storms.
And did you maybe have a magazine that wanted that?
Yeah. So actually, I got to check, but I think I'm getting published in Nat Geo this coming month. So there's definitely like I have a really kind of a weird market as far as like the fine art side. Like I've been in over 100 galleries, festivals, like curated events basically over the last like 5-6 years. So the gallery in Denver International was kind of crazy because it went to print. So I actually spent $10,000 of my own money to actually produce this, and they gave me a couple grand, you know, as a curation thing, but it wasn't anything significant to cover the costs. But that was more of like wanting to get my story out there and tell people like, hey, I went through depression and anxiety. I've been at the lowest points of my life. Like I was actually going to commit suicide when I was 18, and my dad walked in the basement. And so like I had this kind of crazy, really, really dark spot in my life, and then being able to turn that into light and actually like show people like no matter how low you go, you can always become better. So like that was more of why I wanted to do the gallery. And so once I got that exhibit done, I actually printed it, and then the day the prints showed up, they called me and were like, "Hey, we have to put this on hiatus because of COVID."
Yeah.
So it basically, and that just broke me, you know. So it was like essentially like went into hibernation for until I got back from Florida, really. So it was like 2022, like April of 2022, it finally went up, and then it stayed up till January of 2023. But yeah, I mean, and even during that time, it's kind of like, well, what do you do? Like, you know, I thought that was going to be my big break and all that stuff, which is always funny because it's not.
When is the big break?
Yeah. It never works out that way, right? But it actually worked out like where I just learned to shoot more and do more and keep pushing myself forward, even with all that. So, yeah, it was probably like one of the most defining moments of like my photography career.
That's so amazing. And so you had 9 months that your artwork was up at DIA.
Yeah. And it was cool, you know, especially like GABF would go through there. So all my brewing friends would be like, "Oh my God, I saw your
Here's
stuff
your
in the
shit."
airport.
Yeah.
So it was pretty cool. It was a surreal experience, but it was just more of like, I mean, I got emails every single week from people saying like, "Hey, I like read your story. I read some of the stories behind your photos. And just so you know, like either someone in my family committed suicide or, you know, I've been thinking about it. Thank you for helping me." So like, I've helped prevent people from suicide on Instagram, and like just kind of crazy. It's like there's a really big mental health component for what I do. And like, I worked with University of Colorado Springs the last couple semesters and actually did some talks on depression and anxiety for the students there. So it's just become so much bigger than like anything I ever expected.
Yeah. Are you aware of the 988 project with OSO?
No.
So OSO is on year 6 or 7 of having a 988 themed beer, and I think they have like over 60 breweries that are brewing on 988 beer. Probably something you should talk to them about.
Yeah.
That'd be amazing.
That's awesome. I actually didn't, and that's like all the suicide prevention.
Yeah.
Awesome.
1-800-247-TALK back
Okay.
in the day. And then it converted over to the 988 this year. So
Okay. Awesome.
yeah, that'd be a good thing for you guys to chat about a little bit.
Yeah.
And so you're back living in Denver,
Yes.
and you have had some success in your art and in growing your, mental health, but also just your soul
Yeah.
through your art. And now you're coming back to the beer industry. What's the path there?
Yeah, so I mean, I'm just back to selling malt for the mountain region, and it's actually been pretty awesome because I have so many brewers that have watched my journey as a photographer and an artist, and so now like I feel like people want to do more business with me now because of my photography than ever before, you know? So it's been like kind of a cool integration. And I think, you know, even when we were at Craft Brewers Conference and talking to all these brewers and stuff, like people that have known me my whole life have said like, "Oh my God, you are like night and day different from the person you were before you left too," you know? So I think that's been very cool.
Maybe you were like a pretty tightly wound spring back then. Yeah.
I don't know, man. You tell me. You've known me long enough.
Probably a little bit. And now you're like a little more chill. It's kind of cool. I remember the drone days,
Oh yeah, man.
and
yeah.
you're out hiking and took your drone and went off this crazy cliff.
Yeah. I've tried to chill out a little bit, but it still hasn't worked very well. You know, this last winter was pretty crazy too, because like I started, you know, even my life started getting kind of crazier, and then it was just like, okay, well, I'm gonna go push myself. So I started doing more like snow alpine type stuff, and I had to dig. There was one hike I had to do where I dug a 300-yard like line basically to get over to this frozen lake. And so like even in the winter, I started pushing myself really hard this year, and it definitely inspired some people. But you know, I don't think I'd do that again without insurance anymore. But I learned my lesson, you know.
How does the ability to, you have 8 states in your territory for
6.
6 states for Prairie Malt. So are you using your photography time when you're out there selling malt too?
No, because it's.
You mean not
it's-
yet?
Yeah, no. It's,
I've only been back for 2 months. I'm
No,
still
it's-
working on it.
Yeah, it's a lot of like honestly, like even like when I was in Utah, just because it's so spread out. I mean, those are 16-hour days between all the driving and trying to get out. You know, I went from Denver all the way out to Moab, down to Zion to go see like all the breweries along that way, and then up to Salt Lake City. So it's just a ton of like drive and travel time. But like the times now when I am home, I think I'm taking more advantage of it. And like this, even this last week, like, and I pushed myself in other dimensions too. Like this last Sunday, I did my first century ride. So I did 110 miles on the bike, which was 8 hours, right? So, but I'm just trying to like really enjoy every facet of my life now. And like, honestly, like it's been great just being able to reconnect with brewers and like friends that I haven't seen in years, you know, I mean, it was the last time we saw each other like 2 years ago, something like that.
It was CBC Denver.
Yeah. So it's been, you know,
That
so
was
it's
a
like-
long time ago.
So it's just cool, like reconnecting with everyone and being able to kind of like touch base on that end of the spectrum, and you know, and then like when I go home now, it's cool because everyone does truly enjoy to see what I'm doing. Like even storm chasing when I'm at home, I'm getting like 4 hours of sleep a night because it's like you work all day, then you go storm chase, and storm chasing will take 6 to 8 hours, you know.
And sitting in one spot just waiting.
Yeah.
So much waiting.
Well, it's a lot of chasing. I
Yeah?
mean, you know, I mean, you gotta like even with cells, you're looking at radars 4 hours ahead of time. So it's like you're chasing something that doesn't
Hey, look,
exist
bro,
yet.
I've seen the movie Twister, so just back off.
I'm not trying to do any Twister stuff, you know.
Yeah, your photography is absolutely incredible, and it's just you just keep putting more and more cool stuff out. So that's great.
I appreciate
And
it.
now you have to go down to Tucson tomorrow.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
you get to.
Yeah, we get to go down to
tomorrow.
Tucson. So
Edit that, Rob.
Yeah, we get to go down to Tucson, see some brewers down there and stuff. Like even, you know, I haven't seen a couple of them in years too. So it'll be good to just reconnect. Like I said, I think it's just appreciating like every facet of life, and like, you know, the brewing has been such a huge part of my life, and like my whole family coming from it. And then now like photography has become such a huge part of my life too. So it's just learning to integrate everything.
And you're talking about the separation between work and finding joy in other parts of your life. So I don't see any grain pictures and hops pictures and stuff. So obviously you're more landscape than you are like still life.
Yeah. I mean, I do. I love nature photography. I think it's like showing people a beauty of the world that they don't get to see otherwise is amazing. Although, honestly, so actually during COVID, I shot all of our barley product pictures for our catalogs and our website and everything else. So it's like I can do the other parts of photography. It's just
Where you find your passion is somewhere else.
And
Cool.
I do, you know, and I've turned down like 11 weddings because I don't want to deal
like,
with the bridezilla.
"Oh, I wanna-"
like nope.
anything but that.
Yeah. So I can do the other stuff. It's just, you know, like where's your focus? And I think most of my life I really struggled to focus on one area of it. But now it's like awesome having these two different things. And, you know, I think that was the hardest thing too, like leaving the career was it's like most people, it's very hard to get very good at one career professionally, and to do two at the same time is like even harder. So I think now as I get older, it's like, how do you integrate it and like really make your life a full circle of like very balanced, you know, on all ends.
Well, apparently you're figuring it out pretty well, because seems like you've got your friends in the brewing industry who are super happy to have you back and get to see you and hang out with you. And then you've also got this thing that drives your own passion. So that's super cool.
Yeah.
I don't got a lot else. I mean, I don't even know how to really wrap this up. Oh, let me tell you a little bit about our podcast. It is it's not a I can't remember the name of the tagline. Hold on. It's not a podcast about beer. It's a podcast. No. Podcast about beer. No. It's all right. I can just do this for hours. Just get it wrong. Here is what I like to say, because I can remember it. Sometimes the beer finds you. So let's cheers on that.
Yes.
Sometimes the beer finds you. So right now we're having Dark Side of the Mash, a black IPA, one of our favorites here over at Simple Machine. And they have invited us to spend time in their brewery. And it's so nice. So thanks for hanging out. Thanks for coming by. And it's not a beer podcast. It's a podcast about beer. It's not a beer podcast. It's a podcast about beer.